Oh yeah, welcome in, friends. Very mysterious start to the show today. Talk about an international crowd and lots of Canadians in here today. Welcome, friends. You're getting tired of the elevator music? Oh, Shauna. That's funny shit. Hey, what can I tell you? That's garbage. Turn that down. I was taking in a lot of different people's content. Getting the skinny last night. Welcome, friends. I was getting the skinny last night over on It's a Crying Shame. That breakdown. They talked about some new information. Dolly had a good rant on his. I gotta say, I'd say I fall pretty much at this point in line with what Dolly was talking about. I guess that was last night on his live stream. Really starting to suspect that the kids were buried in that sense, or there was a spot and it was graded over in that sense, with a backhoe, perhaps, by Derwood O'Grady. You don't even have to include him in the situation at this point. I released a video a little bit earlier on about Janie's rant. She had a rant on Facebook, which kind of made me laugh a little bit. I don't know why she would write something so nasty. Seems a bit temperamental, a bit touchy, in that she's inviting people to talk about something. You guys want something to talk about? Well, talk about this. And she immediately goes for the jugular of Belinda Gray, which I guess is probably in response to something that Belinda said. But then I got thinking, Janie's the step grandma. She's not really, or shouldn't be otherwise, all that attached. Like, who knows how the living situation is over there, right? I don't know, but I don't hold it against Janie in that sense. Like, she's the flavor of the day to put hate on for, and she's an easy person to target because, she isn't as forthcoming. But it doesn't help her case any when she, there's no two ways about it. That was a bit of an attack. A bit of an attack on Belinda Gray. Maybe it was in response to, it was brought up in comments that maybe it was in response to something that Belinda accused Janie of on It's a Crying Shame. Somebody in my live chat maybe does that ring a bell for you? Do you know if Belinda said anything discouraging about Janie and her association in this situation? I'm not sure. An international crowd in here today. Welcome, friends. It's good to see you all. New subscribers, welcome. Hello, Jamie Williams. You see the conversation getting very heated in one. This is Tammy Burke speaking. You see the conversation getting very heated in one other content creators' channel. People are really throwing people under the bus. LOL. Is that Dolly's? Is it Dolly's live chat? Is it getting cutthroat over there? I wonder. Will you tell me who you're talking about? You don't have to. It's just the nature of the beast in these situations. It's not Dolly's. I went over and I listened through, because of some nasty comments that were in my section. I went back and I checked out, I can't remember the channel's name. I keep calling it Into the Fog. Something about fog. It's a true crime, but they were the ones who interviewed Logan and Christy. And I learned a couple things. I think most importantly, the one that stuck out that I didn't know before was that this friend of Malaya's, Christy, who was in that circle of friends at the end of the driveway engaged in this fight, really hadn't been in Malaya's life for the past 2 years. So she's a come-again friend. She's a part-time friend in that sense. Like, she's new to the situation, and that piques my interest. I wonder why all of a sudden, maybe it was something over Facebook, who knows in that sense. But why all of a sudden that she felt the need to get involved in the circumstance with Malaya. She needed rescuing. Well, you feel better soon, Jamie. The world according to Misty Ray saying in my chat, she was being asked hard questions and didn't want to answer, so she tossed out an inflammatory comment and people jumped on it. That's probably it. It's still kind of funny. You don't feel the need to, you have to say anything. Like, why would you have to say anything in that circumstance? But maybe she's feisty like that, right? Maybe this Janie McKenzie is like Yosemite Sam's wife. Yo, Guido. These friends are dodgy, Karen Jones? Yeah. Yeah, and they all want to speak on Malaya's behalf. Nobody's really said anything disparaging against Malaya other than the fact that they're suspicious of her, neglecting her kids to death. And all of the indicators are there. Like, there's no two ways around it. There's pictures out there that you can make an argument, I've noticed, of the kids not seeming as clean or as kept. There's marks on one of them. I guess you could be suspicious that they're not being taken care of in that moment. Like, God knows when the photos that you saw were taken in that sense. The world according to Misty Ray, she's protecting her son Daniel. She's protecting him. Everyone has been suspicious and full of it, to be honest, aside from Belinda. What do you mean full of it? Full of it in that they're going to speculate till the dogs come home about the possibilities in the circumstance. Nobody trusts a word that Daniel or Malaya has to say. So in that sense, all we're seeing is a reflection from really all of the people that think that they're involved and they think that they know because they were told by Malaya or Daniel, the two guilty parties who aren't going to be telling everybody the truth in their own inner circles. And it's these people that go and start really buying into one way and end up looking bad in the end. They've had every opportunity to come and clear their names, especially when it comes to the suspicious nature of the situation. I've got no sympathy for Daniel. I've got no sympathy for Malaya in this sense. Maybe a little bit for Daniel, because I like his hair. I do like his hair. It's very nice. It's a little too late for apologizing in the sense that, you stood there and lied to everybody to sell this story of Malaya's for so long. There's no possible way that you're not in the know in that sense. But because he's assisting the police to the best of his ability, that could be just assisting him, leading them in the wrong direction. He can only help them with so much. It's hard to ignore the allegations of hard drugs involved, whether you believe Haley or her account of things. I tend to give some sort of credence to the topic and the argument. Janie had to... What did I learn today as well? Somebody tried to attack Janie as well. I'll read that in a moment. Hold on, where was that? Did I read that? I think it was in this particular live stream. Yeah, this interview with Cheryl. Cheryl and Logan both defend Malaya's character, portraying her as a caring, soft-spoken mother who took excellent care of Jack and Lily. Really? How do you know? You haven't been around for 2 years. Cheryl emphasizes that Malaya's focus is on finding her children, not engaging with social media or public speculation. You guys really take that home to the bank then. You're the only people that believe that. You're naive and you're gullible. And you can't wait to get a little bit of attention for this. Let's not forget that, because you're huge narcissists. I know I read something down here. So let me see. I think the woman's name is Susan from this particular live stream. They're talking about, she thinks she's got a couple of real... she must be doing, what she was doing was a screen record of a group chat and then uploading it. So her little stream reveals tensions between the Daniel and Malaya sides of the family, particularly during an altercation involving Daniel's mother. Cheryl and Logan overlapping comments suggest underlying animosity, which Susan addresses by urging family unity. Good luck with that. And the shared goal of finding the children. That's blowing smoke up ass if I've ever heard it. Listen, guys, can we all just get along for the sake of the kids? No, there's a reason they're fighting. And it has to do with the fact that they probably killed and buried their kids. And they're lying to everybody within their immediate, just like they've been lying to you all along. But you have to say those things, right? Cheryl urges family unity. Ha ha ha. No, I don't think it was Cheryl. It was Susan. It was the host of the channel. It wasn't Cheryl or Logan in that sense. They were, I guess, talking over one another, and, you know, one's on one side, the other's on the other in that sense. It was an ongoing, maybe, like, you know, there's another probable fact to it, that there was this disagreement, and it's just whether or not you believe what you hear about the nature of the argument at the driveway. I mean, it couldn't get much worse, right? I mean, they probably weren't arguing about what was for dinner. So the argument was probably about drugs. Rugs, we'll call it. You know what? Right now, I think World According to Misty Ray, I'm probably with you on that. The truth will come out in regards to the specifics on how they met their end. But if they met their end like we suspect, that means that they're guilty of desecrating a corpse in that sense, and everything that goes along with that. Both of them. Now, how many people are involved in that scenario? This is a whole different beast in that sense. You know, think about all of the individuals that possibly helped them in this circumstance. We know that there's 2 sweaters missing. Something tells me that they're going to find these poor children wrapped in these sweaters. You know, and that was an attempt to dodge the tracking dogs, you would think. There's talk about the RCMP, and there's some scrutiny because the RCMP never thought of bringing in cadaver dogs. Could you imagine it, everybody listening in the U.S.? They never thought of even bringing in cadaver dogs for their search for the kids. They brought in tracking dogs. No cadaver dogs. So if anybody's out there listening and wants to exercise them, there's a chance here up there in Nova Scotia, sadly. Oh yeah, the list would go on. The world according to Misty Ray saying they're guilty of more than that. This is just the new ones that I thought of today. I was mentioning. Oh shit! Like it's got to be the worst in that sense. Negligence causing death, false reporting, improper disposal of remains. There's a whole list of charges to go around. Obstructing justice. There's probably all kinds of charges that we have never even heard of before. These are just the usuals. Karen Jones, it's good to see you, darling. There's a psychosis that has paranoia as a symptom. Yeah, it's associated with the use of the crystal. Hence Malaya's fear of CPS and them taking the kids. If they had the kids would still be alive. So why exactly do you think the day of was there? Do I understand this correctly? That Logan, which is related to Daniel, had some sort of verbal agreement with Malaya in order to take Meadow. So there was already a plan before the kids went missing. I'm a little cloudy as the timing of that. I know that what she mentioned, but was that just an impromptu scenario, or was that, it sounded to me like they were messaging back and forth over Facebook for a period of time. How long was that period of time, I wonder? The province's budget will, whatever you need at the moment. I think it's just an unavailability of cadaver dogs in the situation, and they don't deal with many instances like this, so it doesn't justify itself to have a whole team on standby at all times. You'd think that would come in useful down by the harbor, but again, that's me thinking rationally. Layla. Yes, Karen, I think that she was more worried about the image of having a man than kids. I think it was just, portraying an image of whatever was her issue. She was distracted. She didn't like being a mom. Belinda Gray was polite in the sense that she didn't say anything disparaging about Malaya up to the point of it all was to tell you but things changed like 2 years ago after Daniel came in the picture, after he left his wife and other kids to bang and live happily ever after with Malaya in their new tweaker camper. It seems like ever since those two got together, shit went downhill. Probably because they enabled one another. They were both using in that sense. Like Cam and Allie from Cracking Cases. Yesterday we also talked we also talked about Daphne's case files, sharing that TikTok. That video that she shared blew up. I'm glad I mentioned it. It didn't blow up. It just for her channel. It got a lot of views. We should take a look at that in a few minutes. It gives a person a good sense of what it looks like in and around in the bush. It has the guy who's filming it calling out for the kids, and you can also hear in the background the dog barking, Janie's dog barking. And Earl is the name of Daniel's father, who also lives on the property. What kind of weirdo situation is going on up in there? You got dad in this old weird shack living like the Unabomber out back, and you got a dugout of the hill and an RV pulled up beside of it like she's a gnome living in the ground. Mom. And you live out front in the trailer. Because really she's doing nothing but living in a parked car in the back. And she's got a skid up to the front and some plasticized fencing, some small fencing around it. I mean, I'm not trying to be picky. I'm like, what in the hell is going, like, you give them the benefit of the doubt. It's like, well, maybe it looks a lot nicer in the summer, but slowly you're starting to think, you know what? I couldn't even handle that. I couldn't handle that shit. It does look like a meth lab, like Walter White style. It's got this big 4-inch, probably 4 or 6-inch black steel stovepipe sticking out the side with a 90-degree that comes up the side of it, and a bunch of black tarpaulin on the roof. But if you look to the right of it, it's dug out. Probably done by Derwood O'Grady, this front-end loader. Dug out about 8 feet of a sloping bank, and she's got the RV parked up maybe 6 inches off that, 6-8 inches off that. You know, if it was proper, I don't know what side, where north is on that property. I have to go back and check. But if you had it on the right slope, it would be perfect for energy efficiency. But I think she might have it on the opposite side as you should. No matter, it probably saves from drifting in anyway. But I think that's the idea. She's probably got a weird personality, like a very odd personality in that sense. People say that she's very blunt in your face. If you know her, let me know. If you've talked to her, let me know. All right, George Carpenter. Oh, you're such a poet, my friend. We're talking about all of the rumors, all of the new individuals involved. No, the kids aren't going anywhere. Such a glitch of personalities, you say, JJ? You wonder if they all pay rent, Betty? Well, one of them owns it, and it's probably just like over the years, they've probably broken up. And it's like, yeah, I want to break up, but I can't afford to go out and get my new place. Why don't I just section off a piece of this property and I'll just go back and build a cabin and live in it? Is that right, Layla? Blunt in your face, she starts fist fights and brawls. I thought it was the other way around. There was a brawl that started at the end of the driveway, like somebody attacked Janie in that sense. I mean, what did she say to get attacked, I wonder? But maybe she's protective of that medicine cabinet, if you know what I mean. Why would she kick back $200 to Daniel, Karen? You've said that before. Welfare pays $800 rent to the landlord, Janie. She kicks back $200 to Daniel. It's just a bit of a scam, you're saying? Maybe. She's got 2 kids there, though. Daniel and his brother. Hold on, dear. Hey, Taze. What else did Susan say in that? Susan notes that the case has become a criminal investigation with the RCMP likely close to wrapping it up. This was done 3 weeks ago. Cheryl introduces herself as a friend of Malaya, and she was present at the search on Friday, May 2nd. Clarifies 2 points. The pink blanket. See, these family members that were there that found the pink blanket really want to come and emphasize this point of this stupid-ass pink blanket. The dumbest piece of fucking evidence ever. The fact that you're talking about it is beyond me. I don't even consider it a piece of evidence. I don't trust it. Cheryl introduces herself as a friend of Malaya. Just recently, she got back into the picture just recently, remember. Malaya left the property on Saturday evening after an altercation involving Daniel's mother, not Saturday morning. So I wonder if it was Cheryl and Janie getting into it. Cheryl's probably white knighting over there, accusing Daniel of being a drug addict, and Malaya's not involved at all. She was just some sort of innocent bystander that was witnessing it all. because that's what she probably told her. I need rescue. I need to get the hell up on out of here. Tell me. So it went on. She goes, Susan invited Logan Mackenzie, Daniel's first cousin, to join the panel to verify Cheryl's presence at the search. Logan confirms meeting Cheryl on Saturday, possibly during the search for related events. They're all up there complaining about how it's this, all of the information. This is Logan and Cheryl over on this panel where they did their interview. They're over there complaining about how people are cutting and splicing and questioning the things that they say. Like, how people will take out the key point to whatever the topic is of that, so you have no doubt in your mind that that's what the person said. They consider that's splicing and editing, because people were leaving all the positive statements that she was saying about Malaya. Oh my gosh. Come on. So pathetic. Logan acknowledges that her previous live appearance was screen recorded and spliced, removing her supportive comments about Malaya. Susan reinforces the need for caution, noting that 143 people were watching. Be cautious, and the stream could be recorded and misused. The people might be taking screenshots. Be protective of it. Rookies. So the Cheryl was up there, and she reiterated that Malaya left Saturday evening after a briefing, not morning, and clarifies the altercation occurred before the briefing, involving Daniel's mother. Logan corrects Cheryl, stating that the altercation was after the briefing. So which one was it, guys? And Malaya left directly from the briefing, not returning to the house. So it's all around surrounding when Malaya exactly left. And these two can't even agree on that. Was it before the briefing or after the briefing? Does it matter? Well, yeah, it matters when you're sitting there relaying information and you care about accuracy. So this Logan and new friend Cheryl, they argued on a couple points. The second one was Logan stating that the blanket, this pink blanket that keeps coming up, was in the garbage, contradicting Cheryl's claim that it was on the railing. Cheryl maintains she was told it was on the railing, but acknowledges a piece was found in the tree. And the RCMP collected another piece from the garbage, a matching piece. Oh, interesting. So this disagreement over the blanket's location highlights inconsistencies in witness accounts, which could impact the investigation's interpretation of evidence. So Cheryl here, the friend, and then back again after years. Cheryl avoids discussing her relationship with Malaya to respect her privacy. But confirms she was with Malaya during the search, just enabling and believing everything that she was told. Susan notes the conflicting information between Cheryl and Logan, particularly about the blanket, and stresses the importance of distinguishing fact from hearsay. Oh. Logan confirms being present when the blanket was found in the tree, supporting Cheryl's claim. Cheryl explains that Daniel found the blanket piece in the tree after Malaya left and checked the garbage. Well, that's a completely different story than anybody else has been told, where he found another piece, which was videoed and reported to the RCMP. Wonder what's true. Susan clarifies that Logan is Daniel's first cousin, close to the family, and Cheryl is a friend of Malaya who was at the search. This addresses audience questions about their identities. Susan asks Logan if she watched Daniel's recent CBC interview. Logan said she only watched parts. That means no, including Belinda's segment, but spoke with Daniel the previous day. Daniel declined to appear on Susan's live stream, preferring factual platforms like the CBC. See, he's gone 180 degrees on that as well, because he was on record stating that he doesn't want to do any interviews on mainstream media. He only wants to spread the love here on social media in that sense. Jessica Lynch, what's going on in my chat? Let me read a couple of these comments. I had made some comments on some of these lives and noticed Daniel Martell coming into my Facebook. Just weird. I believe Daniel is definitely knows where Jack and Lily are. We cannot trust any of them. Oh, absolutely not. No, they have all of the information everybody wants and they're playing games. In the ditch, what's going on? Per RCMP, Jack and Lily were last seen alive on May 1st. On May 7th, Curtis McKinnon, age of Mears missing persons, I think he almost said murder victims, then caught himself. And what you're saying is that you think this is a homicide investigation. Absolutely, you're probably right. Correct. What's not suspicious about this, everybody? It's very difficult to find something that isn't suspicious. Nothing really checks out. Nothing really is legitimate. And it sources itself all the way back to mom and dad's rehearsed single statement that they got in front of the cameras and the RCMP and told. I wonder how they told it to the RCMP. Can't wait to see those interview tapes. Remember, Karen Jones, you're saying, remember Daniel saying a friend had driven him to CPS office in Stellarton to talk about Meadow. I bet Darwin's son drove him. Oh, you mean Jordan? Darwin Jr.? Little Darwin? Little Derwood. Derwin, we'll call him Derwin. These people always need moral support in travel in gangs. These people. What do you mean? Yes, Karen, says Layla. Derwood confirmed that his son took him to get a pizza to cheer him up. Right. Well, he needed some cheering up, did he? Why don't you never hit off that crack pipe, boy? Now, how many of you guys out there believe that there are substances involved here? And you can see its effect on the family in that sense. Like these particular drugs that they're suspicious of are dissociatives. And that would certainly account for Malaya's change. But wouldn't that mean that Malaya was engaged probably... How long were they together now? 2 years? So they fell in this whirlwind love, got her knocked up, probably got her knocked up high. Were they using with Meadow, I wonder? Tammy Montano says 100% rugs are involved. He was you didn't hear much talk about it. Like, he's the one up there defending his own reputation. You're wondering where these particular allegations are coming from because you didn't see them much on social media. So it was interesting timing to hear Daniel on the CBC talking about being able to pass drug tests and he's all fine and good and things like this. Why so defensive? One would think that there's so many, if you're genuinely an innocent person and a normal individual free from all of these burdens in that sense, these vices, that it would be the last thing on your mind. It would be, test me, get out of your way. It's just a step in the process. Let's get on with things, and there's more interesting things to focus on in this circumstance, rather than him being up there and soaking up his 15 minutes talking about how fantastic he thinks he is because the cops told him one thing and he can pass all kinds of drug tests. He can't see any of his kids. Why do you think that is? Why don't you talk at extent about that? Instead, he's using these things as a way to garner sympathy from the audience. And he's the only one talking about how he's not a suspect. Why the need to get up there and say that in the first place? Karen Jones, Derwin's son is involved big time. That it's Derwin's skin in the game. He doesn't want his son going to prison. Well, it's probably too late for that, Karen. You figure? Kelly, yo, do hospitals test at birth in Canada like they do here in the States? Yeah. Yeah, I believe it'd be the same thing. Jamie Williams, you're saying 100% the rugs are involved, no doubt. You know, it's a strong bet because look at the level of deception. Look at the level of lying. And they're lying with little effort at this point in time. And that's like a callous, a tolerance you grow, you know, especially if you've been in the drug game for a while. There's 3 different levels, and you find yourself lying an awful lot in that circumstance. Not because it's malicious, because you have to maintain. And it's effortless. It's very easy to believe that he's innocent in any wrongdoing in this circumstance. I didn't kill Jack and Lily. Yeah, that's not really saying much. Because a machine told you so, a tool. What? My children were not rug tested at birth. Why would they do that? They do that as a standard thing in the States? I'm not sure exactly what and why they do that. I'm not sure if it's a standardized thing. I don't know. Or it would show up in any sort of tests. What tests? I don't know. I'm not the right person to ask with that orange. That's just what somebody said. The question is probably more to the point of imagine Derwood when he's not high, Jamie Williams is claiming. You think he's like that? He certainly talks like he's like that, right? He's probably dabbling into the yam yam. The yabba yabba. Kellyo says, yes, Orange, when they test the baby and prick their feet. They do blood tests at birth in Canada, Jen R. says. I would think it would be the same process and protocols. It might not be called the methamphetamine, your baby hooked to methamphetamine test in the hospital. It's probably called something else. Has it changed since cannabis is legal there, JJ? That's just so easy pickings if they need to throw you in jail. If the baby's underweight, like under 6 pounds... He sounds like an alcoholic, Derwood, Karen Jones is saying. Have you dated? There's fake Derwood O'Grady. That might be the real one. Derwood O'Grady says, Karen, you are as much of a brainless idiot as the host of this mental asylum. From the 4 Derwoods, and we all agree on this point. Derwood, you're a fucking spammer, bro. Nobody believes you. Any of the Derwoods. That's a funny shit. He does sound like a booze hound, though. We're going to be talking all kinds of shit about you and your son. I can't wait. You and your son Jordan. So is Jordan's probably this fake Derwood O'Grady, do you think? Derwood, you've already proven yourself not to be able to answer a question. Deserves some time in the penalty box. Yeah, he's trolling. I do have an appreciation for the fake Derwoods. AB, in all reality, I was in the game. I was a dealer. I was a user. I know the behaviors of addicts. That was in my past, I understand. But I've been there, and I do know these people are on rugs. What gives it away to you the most, Jamie? What's the giveaway, the key giveaway to you? No, I know what you're saying. What's the key giveaway to you? Other than the fact that they brought it up and admitted it, and they're telling on themselves. Is it their level of disorganization in how they live? Barbara M., when was your child born? In the 90s? Yeah, maybe it was different back then. I would think it was a lot more recent that they started standardizing these tests. Derwood, I had to block Derwood for a little bit. He's pissing me off, Kelly. Derwood, you can't ask that Derwood anything. And why does he seem so aggro against Karen Jones, I wonder? It's because Karen knows a lot more of the facts and is coming forward with them. And they hit close to home because she's got them. Nailed. She knows them, probably. Knows them all, and she doesn't really want to out her identity. Good to see you, Deb Morndorf. Sean is saying, I agree they're both on rugs, but I don't agree with this how as many you know just lose their kids because they're on drugs. I mean, it really showed me some proof. I don't know what you're saying there, Shauna. You agree that they are, but you need to see a little bit more solid proof before you make any rash decisions. Jumpas, that's a good comment. They can't quit. Talking like all good math heads, needing to control the narrative in that sense. Yeah. The way that they're let's say otherwise arguing from afar, trying to remain ahead of the scenario that they think that they can control, and the sheer brash attempt of it. Tweakers are known to do some crazy shit, and this is one of them. Derwood, Karen Jones is trying to tell you that there's a reason God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Homeless bastard. Yeah, this is a lot different. So, just reading that comment, that's what I meant. Hold on, let me pull this up. I want to play this 5-minute clip from Dolly earlier on.
Ballroom didn't happen, okay? Daniel with the math pipe in the bathroom allegedly could have happened. I don't know. But now we're hearing this happy home that they made it out to be ain't so happy, okay? The little trailer don't have a smiley face. It has a frown, okay? A frown on this happy home. Their hover parents, while they're in the bathroom, allegedly doing things that you ain't supposed to be doing. Illegal things. Now, they're saying it's just Daniel, but you got to remember, Malaya was sleeping in kind of late too and acts pretty emotionless. You know what makes you emotionless in this world? Drugs make you emotionless, okay? Like zombies walking around. No wonder she was so cold and heartless and lack of emotion. I believe both of these people are under the influence of some type of narcotic. Okay. Oh.
Dolly's agreeing. You guys. So how do we put that onto what happened that day? Do you think that it came by way of them probably getting into something? I mean, that's the simplest. CBC Proud, good to see you here. That's the simplest answer. because the way that they would keep their stash wouldn't exactly be under lock and key in that sense. Probably, or could be, why old Janie is so protective of that cupboard, that medicine cabinet in her RV, that she's scared the RCMP are going to look through. We've already seen Daniel really normalize or introduce to a greater audience early on that he believes that there was some sort of psychological issue going on that detached her from her own children. How about the fact that she was probably dipping into your supply, your little your stash?
I said it. Okay, I said it. And of course, Malaya's family has said it. And since then, I think, they have tried to reel it back a little bit because, when they said Daniel did, we'll just say.
It's all easy for Daniel to get up in front of people and say that he's passed a drug test. You can get that out of your system quick enough. And especially as it went so far, it went long enough. He couldn't see any of his kids because of the lack of answers in this situation. That tells you that they don't really want to talk on any level. Not enough to assure the safety of their children. That's so sad. And Logan is out there at the property for Daniel because she's close, allegedly, to the family. But at the last minute, she sold out Daniel's side of the family. I wonder what the key was. Is probably, in my back of my mind, none of these people are probably telling the truth to their family members in the first place. So they're all lying to family members who are then bickering back and forth over all of this falsified information, and they're looking for somebody to blame. And of course, they're going to come to Malaya's support and blame Daniel for being the problem in this house. Well, so far it's 50-50, you would think. JJ, the Danny boy is trying to be the man with a plan, but it just shows how much lack is going on. He's trying to keep on top of things. Like, look at how overreactive he is. Like, I mean, what is normal in a situation like this? That's a harder question to answer, but we're focused on what we remember Daniel. And he's, it's like he's really going the extra mile to make it look like something that it's not. You know damn well if you can't find your kids within about 2 minutes, there's a problem. Why couldn't you find your kids within a little short amount of time? They want to make you think that as soon as they realized that they couldn't hear the kids again, that they were gone. Really pressing home this real deep mystery, when in fact they've completely led us along this entire time with the false timeline. And there's an indicator of a false timeline because they don't want to tell you when the 911 call came in. Janie maybe has BDSM equipment in the cabinet for what her and Darwin cuddles. Derwood, you dirty dog. Right, Jamie. Not everyone on drugs loses their kids. The question is, are they doing drugs, and is a drug doing them? I would think in Canada, a parent would have to give the okay for any tests, hopefully, Barbara. Yeah, probably. God, you keep asking me the wrong questions. I want to answer you. But I just realized when I have to answer you, I become so familiar with certain states in the U.S. that I've forgotten about Canada because it's so boring sometimes. It's like, easy to get one over on you here because it's so fucking boring. Tammy Montano, people should give Daniel and Malaya the same treatment they gave Brian Laundrie's parents until someone tells them where the kids are. Oh Jesus, Tammy, we're gonna have to get heels on the ground out there to Nova Scotia. Well, it's a pretty place to go and visit, no doubt. You have to probably go in lobster season, hopefully. Oh shit, it's a cool place out there, actually. I'm just going through. So, do you remember Brian Laundrie's parents? There's Molly Golightly. There's JLR out there. White Boy and his wife. Bullhorn Betty was out there. Good to see you, DJ. And they were all screaming at Brian Laundrie's parents every time that they saw him. Do you remember how crazy that these situations get sometimes? Like, people are renting out the house across the road. They've got little sections isolated off so they've got food coming in nonstop. It's blowing up like fucking crazy. It is crazy. It's like being in Vegas. But these corporate media outlets, are paying top dollar for people to take control of homes across the street just so they can have the best vantage point for the longest period of time in the moment, right? So however much that costs is a small cost compared to the advertising rights, I would guess. Doovie, good to see you. Janie is so rude and ridiculous talking about Belinda. Those are Belinda's grandchildren, not hers. Well, can look a certain way, too, is probably... she seems like a bit of a cowboy, like a Yosemite Sam type. But I think people were suggesting that it was in response to something, a perceived gripe that came from a different channel with Belinda Gray. They were probably probing Belinda Gray, and she brought up Janie in some sort of way, and that was her response initially, or essentially. But still fun to look at. I'm in Ontario, Angry Rabbit.
Illegal things. Instantly, people went to, well, if Daniel's doing it, Malaya must be doing it also, or something like that. And listen, so many people wanted to believe Daniel when he came out, right? Because he was the only family member, not even family member, but close to the kids to come out and say anything on the internet. So people were like, hey, let's give Daniel the benefit of the doubt and see what he has to say. And he pretty much pushed the same narrative that Derwood, okay, which I consider TikTok Derwood, okay, y'all remember TikTok Tony, okay, he kind of reminds me of TikTok Derwood. That's what he'll be known as from now on, okay, TikTok Derwood. Listen, we lose TikTok Tony. He's gone. He's missing. I got a search party I'm putting together right now to search for TikTok Tony and Seth Rogers. They're missing. MIA, gone. Cash App done dried up like a damn receding water in Texas. Okay, like receding water in Texas. They just gone. They vanished off the planet. Took the money and ran. Okay. So now we got to find Jack and Lilly. We got to find TikTok Tony and Seth Rogers. There's just a lot of missing people. Okay. What are we to do? Okay. I don't know which one to look for first. Okay. All life matters, right? Even TikTok Tony's. All right. Where could they have went? The mysteries, right? The YouTube is just full of mysteries. That's why I love it so much, right? I enjoy it here because it's like the Scooby-Doo. It's like real life Scooby-Doo. Uh-oh. Okay. Oh, Miss Aggie. Scooby-Doo it is, right? So anyway, all jokes aside, these kids have completely vanished. And I don't believe the parents have hid Jack and Lilly. And I hate to, statistically tell you guys once again.
So, in theory, wouldn't it be as easy as... I don't want to say as easy. I'm thinking ahead a little bit, and I'm thinking about how they disposed of the body. Like, we focused on what happened, or who's responsible to a degree. Did it come by her hand, or was it something that they've got into and it's death by neglect type of thing, a child abuse situation? But what do you think happened? Like, by the looks of it, Daniel had every opportunity to put two small children, they're not very large, on the four-wheeler and go pretty much anywhere he wants. Anywhere that he wants with a four-wheeler. It's not like you threw it in the trunk of a car and you have to stick to just off a roadway. You can really go deep into places and search out the proper spot within a small amount of time. That probably took the greatest amount of time between whatever happened and the 911 call. Disposing in a garbage disposal bin that gets picked up in a place like Nova Scotia, it's not like it's going to be easy to recover that. Like, I wonder, there was probably nothing done in the meantime to monitor the garbage, local dump or anything like that. That has me worried of too. Yeah, put in a lobster pot. Karen Jones, the kids are put in a lobster pot, part of the great sweeping Atlantic. They're probably on the coast of West Africa by now. Any parts of them left? Karen Jones is talking about Janie not having a good track record. One son suspected murderer, one son convicted assaulter, DV, and one weeping over divorce. Not to mention ex-husband living in the shack on the property. Yeah, what's up with that, Janie? Yeah, I agree. Robert, you grew up in the Simcoe region. That's just down the road from me. That's east of me. I'm in London. I've been watching a lot of stuff that takes place in BC, Angry Rabbit. All of these Kodiak bear attacks I was watching. I got into some of those the past couple of days. Scary animals. Karen Jones, Janie may not have a good track record, but let me tell you something. When you raise your children, when they reach a certain age, what they do is not necessarily on you. That's true too here in this circumstance. But something tells me that Janie keeps an eye on everything out in there. What do you think she does? What does she do all day? You would think that she would be. I don't want to say. I don't know her. Duvey, you're saying, in your opinion, you think whatever happened was both their faults, right? They're both equally culpable. They're covering for one another. Yeah, even in their absence. And look at how they first came out. He was very, very protective of his beautiful, beautiful lover, Malaya, and how people spoke about her. Oh, she's done nothing wrong. When the fuck are these two assholes going to take some accountability here and start feeling bad? Remorse, resentful, when they get caught, I would think. And even then, they'll have somebody to blame. No, they have it screwed up. Oh, they're making the wrong decision as they go to court. Karen Jones is saying that apparently Janie does have a job. One of the few. She probably works in an old age home. Many of them around. Always needs workers. She's a customer as well. Karen Jones, the interior of BC is like Nova Scotia. Bale Hillies? Are there? I've never been to BC.
Derwood, okay? I thought it was my phone. No,
Hold on. So, I want to check this out for a moment. It's so difficult to see this one, but Maybe we'll put it up on the bigger screen. Let me see. I'll do this. I want to take a look. We'll take a look through the woods from this particular individual's video that Daphne's case files shared yesterday. I'll let her set it up as well.
Walking by Friday morning. Now, if you look behind the kids in this photo here, you see like some gravel. It's like a lighter color behind Jack. I'll go ahead and circle that for you. So that photo of Jack and Lily, it looks like they...
Hold on. I got this way too big. I've got to make this small so you can see it. It's a different format. There, we'll have a look at like this.
Went missing. So this would have been Thursday night. Daniel's mother was supposedly filming the night before Jack and Lily went missing. So this would have been Thursday night, going into Friday morning. Now, if you look behind the kids in this photo here, you see like some gravel. It's like a lighter color behind Jack. I'll go ahead and circle that for you. So that photo of Jack and Lily, it looks like they were standing there at the bus stop, waiting for the bus as they have their backpacks and look like they're ready for school, correct? Now, I have a video that is from a neighbor. This was early on in the search. This person actually searched, which I'm going to show you some video footage of that as well. Now, this neighbor was walking by. They were helping search, like I said, and I noticed something in the driveway.
You know what kind of gave me the creeps just a second ago, too, as I'm reading your comments? You know, they both indicated this scenario where they both recognized how silent it was. Layla25 in my chat is asking, good to see you, sweet tea. I keep wondering how they felt. I hope they didn't feel anything and went to sleep. And it occurred to me that, you know, if they got into something like tainted or got fent in their system in that circumstance, and from the perspective of a negligent parent, you know, sleeping in the other room, the indicator of their death and their passing would be absolute silence as well, and that would be just as weird. You know how normalized you get to all the noise, and you start to love all the children's noise around you when you're a parent like that. You miss it. But what sticks out to you the most is when they're not around, how quiet it is. So they both indicated that they both realized that something was wrong when they didn't hear the kids anymore. Well, that could be a cover for, you know, the same sort of reaction, only a little bit more morbid, excuse me. And it was a way that they can talk openly about their passing because they're being grilled on it.
If you see the lighter colored area with the gravel in it, I'm going to circle it for you right now. This looks to be the pothole maybe that Janie filled up that night. But in the previous photo that I showed you with Jack and Lily, it looks like that same pothole. But looking at this one now, I can't zoom in really well with this picture because it will make it too blurry and we won't be able to make out exactly what it is. But it does look like a fresh pothole. I was just laughing because I said fresh pothole, but it looks like a freshly filled pothole. Now, I'm going to overlay the photo with Jack and Lily, and let's see if we can kind of identify to see if it's the same hole. Now, in the photo I placed of Jack and Lily, they wouldn't be standing in that direction. If you look down in the bottom right-hand corner, it looks like they would be standing in that direction, facing that way, because you don't see anything in the background other than the sun and woods. So my question is, was Janie really filling in potholes in the driveway that night? I mean, it's pitch black out there at night, as I'm about to show you. And why fill them that night? That's just odd to me. Did she hit
Yeah, they keep mentioning, like, it's so obscure and so random to say that she was out there just filling up a pothole. Something so mundane usually doesn't require any explanation. Don't you think old Janie can speak for herself? You're preemptively telling everybody that she's out there with a shovel.
A pothole when she was driving in from somewhere, or does she usually fill in potholes at night? I just find that kind of odd, as usually if you're filling in some kind of hole, you're going to do it during the day, but who knows? What do you guys think about this? I find it odd. Comment below and let me know what you think about it. Now, I'm going to show you a video of how dark it is there at night. So some of you might have seen this video. The gentleman who lives next or close to Jack and Lilly, look how dark it is out there. Yes, they have a porch light, but who is going to be filling holes at night in the pitch black? Now, the next clip I'm about to show you is this gentleman is the one that had the confrontation with Daniel Martell's father, Earl, I believe his name is. Now, the person has taken that video down. If you do have that video, could you please?
Lindy's talking about filling up potholes in the middle of the night sounds like a tweaker. That's definitely true. That's tweaker behavior.
Send it to me. I would really appreciate it. But we are going to continue to show you how dense the woods are, because this gentleman went out and searched for Jack and Lilly. Now, would two children actually run off in the woods like this? When I show you how dense these woods are and how wet and soggy everything is, it just makes me to believe that they did not run in the woods. But the RCMP tend to think that they did. They are focused on that, and that's why they searched and even came back and searched more so for a recovery search mission. Now, let me know what you think about this video coming up.
Kiddo! Kiddo! Kiddo!
So Daniel Martell's dad, who lives close by to this spot, came out and yelled at this guy.
Kiddo! Kiddo! Can you hear me? Kids! Kiddo! Damn this.
So showing you that last clip, what do you think? Do you really believe that Jack and Lilly ran off into the woods, just suddenly ran off into the woods? Now, especially with Lilly having a cough, if she was actually really sick, did she really run off into the woods? It just doesn't make sense. So this gentleman here, this is the same guy that had been searching day and night. He's walking by their home, and you can kind of spot this pothole here in a second again. There you go. And, you know, things just don't make sense in this whole case. But, you know, I kind of go back to my old previous video that I made a couple of months ago with someone maybe them having a party or something at their house, maybe Wednesday, or it could have been Thursday afternoon. You never know, because Daniel did say it wasn't the night before. So could it have been that afternoon? Could it have been Wednesday night? We don't know. And maybe something happened there where they took the kids for payment or something. We just don't know, in my opinion. But I want to show you one more thing. So before I let you go, I want to show you this real quick. So the blue dot in the middle is Jack and Lily's home, and the white circle is the circumference of where they searched inside that white circle, that area, where it shows the Lansdowne Station Road by their home where they searched. That's a dirt road. Supposedly that's where.
Well, that's an interesting bird's eye view shot of the approximately 8 kilometer circumference. So 8 kilometers. No, it'd be 8 kilometers diameter. 8 kilometers out from the center point. Nonetheless, think about the mindset of the search teams back at that point in time and what their job was, compared to the in-house where they have already, in their minds, gone far enough away to dispose of the bodies in order to sway off any sort of search. They wouldn't actually have to go that far, especially on the back of a four-wheeler. And without anybody noticing, you could scoot around there in a four-wheeler and never see a person. There's a high probability of you know, disposing of this and not even being seen. And if you do, would anybody remember? Barbara M. saying, this man's searching looks performative. No young child is going to respond to a strange man yelling kiddo. Right. I thought that was weird too, as maybe for dramatic effect. But people love that kind of shit in this circumstance. Of course it was performative. That was the reason why he was filming it in the first place. But it still gives us there's still some value to the content in that regards. Especially when so many people talk about it after the fact, right? So he recognizes that beforehand, I've got no doubt. But he was motivated enough to go there in person, and that says a lot. Good for him. It's funny that Earl came out. I wonder what Earl said to him. Stay away from my girl Janie. Stay away.
Where Daniel Martell's father lives down there, allegedly. And then they searched again by the park, the closed down park, the one that closed down in 2022 for financial difficulties or something like that. But it still looks like there's still buildings standing in that park. Maybe a few cabins, who knows. But what do you guys think about this? Do you think Janie was filling potholes at night? Or do you think the kids went off into the woods? What do you think? I want to hear your comments below. And if you could, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this video.
Well, girlfriend, let me tell you something. Those kids just didn't walk off into the bush themselves. You would have to have rocks in your head to believe that at this point. You would have to be one gullible individual. But yet they're still hoping and going with this story. That's got to be so stressful on them, you would think. Ain't nothing for a tweaker. Tweaker can handle that sort of level. Oh my God. There's no way that they could have been together in, maintaining this relationship after this happened. They had to make a decision. So Malaya had to really probably play the sympathy card and play victim and lie to those around her in some sort of way, to deceive them and get them to take her in just to get out of that scene. She's got to get away from ground zero. And she took off that evening after their little brouhaha, their little fight, and then she had her car towed. The allegations of these substances were brought up as the real main topic of this confrontation, and Janie was involved in it. There's an attack. So there's really already infighting going on at the time that the search was going on. Now that, remember, we have to get it right in our heads that this didn't happen the way that they portrayed it. Like it was, it really happened. They called 911 like it just happened moments before. Oh, hell no, this happened. They've already disposed of the bodies, came back and assumed their positions, and then made the call at a predetermined time. Mama Angie, it's super sus to me that dude drove all the way from Ontario to look for kids he's not related to and doesn't know. Oh, he's a content creator. That's why. It makes sense to me. I should introduce you to like Doug Hutton. You'd be blown away by some of the things people do with these cameras. They go to great extents to bring... I don't know him. Maybe you know him better than I do. I don't watch TikTok and that. And he doesn't know. I do know he was warned by the RCMP to stop harassing people. No, he's not. Well, how did his clip find its way to TikTok? Probably looking for some clicks and views. He's probably going over there to stir the pot a little bit. How many of you out there right now would love to stop by and just stir the pot a little bit to get things riled up? If you could ask them one question, what would it be? If you pulled up there to Garlock Road and Daniel and Janie were sitting out there filling a pothole, what would you say to them? Need a hand? Need some help there, Christian soldier? Ronnie's saying, yeah, but I think Malaya called her mom first. And the call to the police happened much earlier than planned because none of them were ready in that sense. When are you ever ready to call the cops on yourself? You know that when you're doing it, you knew that that's going to shoot you in the foot. That's going to be your greatest hurdle at this point. You're better off to try to fake your own deaths. Go drive your vehicle off into the Atlantic Ocean and hope that people think that you were in it. Then you'll have to live out your days back there in the bush with your old man in those little shacks. That clip is why he was warned, Mama? Was it? Oh, you're not about that. You're not about the clip, Phoenix? You're not feeling his blend of content? Well, what was the story behind? What's his backstory? Is there some sort of context to the particular individual that brought that clip? It's just pure fuckery. This Derwood Getty stag breath oh gravy. Derwood. You better be careful. Josh might hear that. He'll be coming in here standing up for his old man. You can't make fun of my old man like that. He's a good man. He's a solid man. He's a good man.
It was my Facebook. She was calling me on Facebook Messenger, and I just sent her a message to let her know we're live here on Facebook. So where did these kids go? Right now, there's rumors that Granny was seen with a shovel. Malaya is out living her best life, beaching it, hanging out with the cuz, hanging out with her friends. You know, they believe Malaya should go on.
Do you guys believe that? I believe that was probably an older photo, but we don't really know. We don't know. It was a picture of a picture. There's arguments up there. I'm not sure what it is we all believe collectively. It's not like you necessarily need to fall in line to that, but you know, there's potentially some distraction, some misinformation out there, and it's usually put forth by the parties that are involved, and it's no different here. Yeah, Layla 25. Yeah, that interview with the searcher, that bothers me. I don't like to look at that interview, watch that interview. She's playing the politically correct game. Ronnie, no, you mean this was when Malaya got sense panicked? And that's when Janie saw her in the driveway looking guilty. Let me read your first comment. Hold on. Yeah, but I think Malaya called her mum first. And the call to police happened much earlier than planned because none of them were ready. No, I mean, this was when Malaya got sense panicked. And that's when Janie saw her in the driveway looking guilty. Nobody wanted Cindy there. Nuggets of truth peppered in the lies. I think you're onto something there. Because if we're to believe Daniel's claim of, and why would he lie in this circumstance, of Cindy being there within minutes, as opposed to the hour and a quarter that she lives away. And then Malaya took it upon herself to start this ball rolling. And that's what she did instinctively. That's where that kind of came from. She did that without anybody else's okay or go ahead. She just instinctively called the police. Which nobody does, by the way. It's so ridiculous. Still insulted that she thinks I would believe that her kids walked into the woods. What is... She has to know what happened. Right? She has to know why it is that she's lying. Now, it's still up in the air whether or not, or how much Daniel knows. But it's more than likely that Daniel, and he has been, and his buddy Derwood O'Grady, has been out there putting a spin on this ever since. But what else would you expect? They have to say something, you would think. It's not necessarily anything is going to sound out of the ordinary because of the scenario. So many interesting little spins. I think Daniel was covering up, says Lean On Me. I think Daniel was covering her at first. Yeah, I think he admitted to that as well, Lean On Me, by the way. He realized she was gone for good. The more that he realized, the more that she realized that he wasn't coming back. That's very generous of you, Jen R. Thank you very much, darling. It's so fucking heartbreaking. What happened to those poor children in this circumstance? The simplest answer has to be the right one in the circumstance. And it's as simple as they're simply lying to us. We're all fucked up because of how we receive our information at this point. Like, call a spade. We do it to ourselves because of how we gain knowledge of the things that we think we know in these circumstances. Not saying that we're all wrong. It's just, it's exhausting. Because you have to reverse engineer things psychologically, especially when you know that there's liars involved. It becomes extra difficult. We will want to trust Daniel, but even the RCMP can't trust Daniel 100% in that sense. They can only do, he's being helpful, and he can't wait to tell you all about how helpful he's being. But he also flaunts the fact that him saying what he did on the CBC is like saying that the story that the kids walked into the bush is not accurate, because he has all of this info that is case breaking, but he doesn't want to jeopardize the RCMP's investigation. Huh. So I think we have the person who talked first. At some point, you've got to take what he admits. You've got to take it somewhat seriously, knowing full well that he might not be telling you the truth. It's worth considering in that sense. Yeah, you guys. I mean, me too. I kind of tend to believe that. But I'm open in knowing that it's probably going to change from what I think I know right now. You believe that they got into some substances, tried to take meds on their own? Yeah. Or flat out she hurt them? Do we all think that we don't know Malaya that well? Just how she portrayed herself in that little interview, in that sense. I wonder if Daniel thinks that if he believes that she could hurt her own children. Considering all that's happened, all this time, I wouldn't have thought that would have happened. I thought, you give a person the benefit of the doubt to a degree, that they're going to do the right thing for their family. And Malaya's done the exact opposite, seemingly. It's not good enough just to say it. In fact, it's necessary that you don't need to back anything up. Your actions should speak louder. People have to ask you if you're even concerned about your kids in that sense. And you're not. Angry Rabbit says it's not a good look when the First Nation community shows up and takes their family home, not wanting anything to do with Daniel. They must know something is wrong with him. Well, we're going to have to get a load of Janie. Is Janie really a tweaker? I would have never... I don't know. I can't wait to find out. He can't talk to her directly, Phoenix says. He can't send her a message. Nobody puts... She will know what that means, so everybody else can see that we're ridiculous. Yeah, they have to... Yeah, I get what you're saying. He's got to send her smoke signals in order to communicate with her in that sense. He's been ghosted, blocked. This is the father of your child, your 15-month-old child. So it's like some bait she's putting out the end of a hook in this circumstance to add a little bit of confusion to things and a reason to be acting funny, perhaps, because she can blame it on going through a breakup with her old man, as opposed to the fact that she just killed 2 children. It's all nothing but fuckery, Jamie. They all need to be in prison. God bless those children. See a lot of that. There's a lot of people speaking up and saying the same thing. Whoops. Hold on there, Dolly.
Okay, there you go.
Finish our conversation about
here.
these
And
rubs.
Kelly Osbourne got engaged. Did anybody see that? Okay, y'all out the loop, but I feel you see that happening. And he was only working 1 day a week. Clean your damn yard. Okay, clean your yard. And, it looked like a walking techno shot, and the kids were living in not the best conditions. According to Belinda Gray, the biological grandmother. Now, we don't know. Now, this is just hearsay from Grandma. That the inside of the house wasn't much better. Okay? The inside wasn't much better. That there was stuff everywhere. Trash everywhere. It was very unkept, which makes sense because the damn outside of the house looked pretty terrible. So these kids weren't living in the greatest condition. And I can tell you one thing: when people get hooked on illegal substances, that's what we'll say, illegal substances, they tend to neglect the children. Now, I ain't making this up. And everybody that's been around people that have been bad on drugs, whether it be a family member or somebody know that the kids are the ones that always suffer in cases like this. Okay. The kids are the first to suffer because the parents ain't spending money on the kids. The kids are starting to look unkept. And we've seen pictures of Jack and Lil.
It's not so much. There's 2 things to consider here, Like, it takes a certain type of person to go forward and then continue to cover up their crimes. It's a demonstration of not having a conscience in that sense. And is that what we're experiencing here as well? And that's the reason for Malaya's purpose for hiding, her hiding away, part of it. Like, life would go a lot different if they called RCMP and said the right words, as opposed to planned something out in order to try to get away with it, essentially a whole laundry list of crimes. They're already trying to blame one another. They already said that they lied about the call. So where are the kids? And why don't they comment at all about any of that? Because Daniel's too busy trying to pin it all on Malaya, and Malaya's trying to play defense. Angry Rabbit, Daniel and Derwood keep gaslighting everyone. I'm about to resort to classic meme warfare. Yeah, they really are. It's really one-sided, although like any information from insiders is popular when it comes out, but this didn't cut the mustard. It didn't cut the mustard. Gosh. I wonder what their second attempt is going to look like. Have a good one, Phoenix. I wish Malaya would speak out instead of her having her family do it for her. Well, she needs all the simps that she can, right? She needs that. Now's the time to have your simps come forward and pick up the slack. Friends, you mind if there's ever a time that I needed you right now, you know? And listen, some people thrive in the sort of attention that comes from this, and that's kind of what she's probably hoping for. Oh, do my talking for me in this sense. She's so traumatized over losing her kids. And granted, you can really tap that energy because it probably wasn't something that she aimed to do. Was she known? Does anybody know? Is she known to have, anger management problems? It's far more probable that the kids got into something as opposed to them being, carrying out any violent act. I couldn't see that in this circumstance. Yeah, Daniel has a loose grasp of the English language, and he's suspected to be on drugs in that circumstance, and it's taken its effect on him. Okay, it's not just something that he ingested and he's walking around like a zombie necessarily. It's that the effects has damaged his brain in that sense. He asked if Daniel passed a polygraph when asked if he murdered them. However, did he help cover it up? He probably wasn't quite familiar with the terms that were being used. Luminous, he's not on drugs. Yeah, I don't think that he's walking around all high. I think he would tone it down, but who knows? Who knows what's going on in there? Why all the talk? Why all the talk? Yeah, just because you pass that polygraph doesn't mean anything. And you should know that well enough to avoid talking about it, really. It's just another step. What big deal is it? You two occupied with trying to find these kids rather than your own best interests in that circumstance. You can... Or maybe that's exactly how the CBC cut it, and maybe it was the CBC making it look a certain way. You would think that they had a longer conversation. And they probably only used a brief part of it. Well, Karma Moon, the problem with that is it was mentioned that the mom was a very calm person. Yeah, at one time, way back years ago, when Grandma Belinda Gray knew her. But you have to finish the rest of that very important comment because it was delivered as such with a but. But something happened in that sense. So it was set up to a bit of a disparaging comment about her that she was hesitant to give. She was being nice. Yeah. He just claimed that he passed it, and what does that actually mean in context to the rest of the case, Karma Moon? It doesn't mean anything. It only means something to Daniel because he's so anxious to impress upon the public that he's innocent of all charges, because that's kind of what they're going for with all of this greater lie, you would think. And again, he's trying to stay on top of everything, jump the gun. May as well do this as he's peeking out of his glory with notoriety all over the airwaves. This isn't the sort of thing that you necessarily want to have attention over. But I think it's more important to Daniel, it seems like he's being so forthcoming with all this information, to the point that the examples that he uses have nothing to do with really anything. But somehow they're supposed to impress you into believing that he's somehow innocent. No matter what, you're going to be somewhat guilty in this situation, because the household was probably the issue, the problem, and you were a contributor to that household. But he's quick to block out the fact that, I guess to him the worst case scenario would be everybody's talking about him, talking about how he physically murdered his own stepchildren. Well, did you? Well, that's really what he took a polygraph for. Did you physically murder these stepchildren? Do you know who did? There's alternative possibilities that could have brought these children to their end in that circumstance. And the writing's on the wall. People keep talking about how it looks like a goddamn trap house up in there. Now, these are just rumors, but it's hard to hide that. See, that's the power of a little bit of paint. $45 and you would have been looking new. Malaya was mad at Daniel because he didn't do the vacuuming? ? Karen Jones. Where did you see that? Do you think that they were arguing over... Maybe they were. I don't know what they argue over. Arguing over just domestic chores. Yeah, Karma Moon, you're right. There really is something bad going on there. Something that was possibly out of their control. Like, what would have happened that you feel the need, that you made the decision to go through this huge cover-up? It involved the police and having to, be confident enough to sell it and try to get away with what would otherwise be something that you would be accountable for. And they're still accountable. But, again, mother's nowhere around. Like, she couldn't wait to get the hell out of Dodge. And it's not because she didn't like Daniel alone. Moments before she bailed, she told the cops that she felt safe there, the safest that she'd ever felt, whatever that means in that circumstance. That's from Daniel, of course. Is that too much to ask, Karen? He probably expected her to be a good housewife. Well, it's probably something that she promised. Yeah, that's right, Mama Angie. Whether Ruggs were involved or not, they were both neglectful by their own admission. That's very important. That's very important. The scenario that they explained was the bare minimum of admission to being negligent, leading to the kids walking out their own. That's their story, but nobody believes their story. So it's probably 100,000 times worse. The truth, the real story behind is what we're after. We've gotten as far as to even have an admission by the people that were responsible for the children that the story that they put on the RCMP and the world is false. That should tell you everything. Not all the keen little details that we're so interested in here right now and getting to, but it's enough to keep our interests. Like, what next in this circumstance? This is going to be peeled apart like an onion in this. You can see it now. And people are going to take sides and find reasons to defend the indefensible. We go through the cycle. Ronnie Yada, ignore what a safe comment. Women say whatever it takes to appear cooperative until the door opens and they run. Yeah, that could be. She was setting up her exit strategy, we'll call it. He did everything for the kids, potty trained them, etc. Yeah, he went as far as to move their bodies, probably buried them. How did all of this fall on Daniel, I wonder? Because he's the only one that knew how to drive that four-wheeler? Do you think that his brother's involved? Maybe he was lucky and slept through all of this. What was going on at this point in time with everybody else around there? They really don't want to talk about the circumstances leading up to, which you would think that for everybody, that's the most important thing. Like, they want to know everything about the scene as it, you know, supposedly happened, supposedly led up to, and they don't speak about that at all. Just a real claim of making a mistake on their parts, and when their backs were turned, the kids ran out themselves and got themselves lost, and they're never coming back again, I guess. Oh, we're all praying for Lily and Jack, Jamie. I think we will see justice in this circumstance. You know, I mean, it's a good point that people bring up as well. It was Friday of the Friday of the weekend. It's not like it was Sunday night and they, you know, stretched it out even longer or let it go any longer. So maybe there is some truth to Malaya taking it upon herself to call the RCMP in, and that's really kind of causing an issue. Naturally, by taking so much of the narrative out of their particular control, automatically implicating all kinds of other people that maybe they knew what they were doing, maybe they didn't. You know, you've seen some pretty crazy things. People walking around with packages in public that had ended up having bodies in them. And the bodies of two small toddlers like that. 2. Oh my God. Karen Jones is saying, he said he would do it for love of Malaya, and it was supposed to keep her there with him forever. He adored her, worshipped her to the ground she walked on. Maybe you have never been infatuated in this way. Yeah, are you trying to come on to me, Karen? I want to know what love is. Yeah, they were really taken away with this little romance of theirs. He was just such a fantastic lover, a freak in the sheets. She didn't want to stick around too long, though. I wonder why. I wonder what the actual issue was. Like the one, not the one that she wants everybody to believe. Just I wonder what else was going on. If you listen to Daniel, he didn't see this coming at all. Isn't that kind of contrary to what the conversation was? I don't know. People tend to fake happiness and post and stage a different image online, but behind the scenes is a different story. I agree, Angry Rabbit.
Really, when they were well kept, and then we seen pictures that look like, well, damn, she had brushed the kid's hair. They're looking a little different. Jack, a lot of images are showing up with Jack with marks and bruises on his face. Now, people are saying, Dolly, he's a little boy. Little boys get bruises. Okay, that's true. Usually on your arms and legs. You know, you may occasionally, you know, I don't know how many little kids run into doorknobs and black their eyes, but there's images that appear now with AI. You never know, right?
I wonder how much of this love, we'll use air quotes, this love for Malaya that Daniel had, this relationship of theirs. It sounds like this fictional little ball of energy took priority over the children in that sense. Where did the kids fall within this relationship? You know, it probably was a hard little building to grow up in. There's 7 people there in that trailer. I don't know if that includes Mom out in the back. I would think so. Plus, you have Darren Getty stopping over for his romp. Is it that weirdo? Karen Jones says, when she said my partner, Daniel, she was thinking, who is my partner? You're so hard on Malaya. She's trying to live her best life, y'all. Come on now. She's not taking part in any of the gossip about her in this circumstance. I don't blame her. But think about how easy that was. Like, her story is that weak. She's shitting her pants. She's had to clam up. You have to speak through my lawyer to me. And by the way, my answers will all be lies and deception. And you're going to have to piece it together, coppers. You're going to have to figure things out on your own. Layla says, who knows? Daniel seemed like a simp. Probably because his mother was in charge of at home too. Janie seems like a person who loves to take charge. She's got her perimeters set out there with that little plasticized fence. Don't be coming in here. It's probably for her dog. You know where the borders are. This is my zone. Maybe she's the one that has the sound system for the parties. You don't agree, Karma Moon? You think he wanted attention from her, more misery? Well, I was hoping it was reciprocal, they call it. The attention was reciprocal. She ruined his life. He didn't love her. That's why he turned, says Luminous. Well, I think this sort of thing is going to tear them apart. This is too big. I don't think the relationship can handle it. It's a little bit too big of a secret. You have to think that Daniel's putting himself out there to be in position to, let's say, answer any future questions that the RCMP has, opposed to Malaya, who's actively hiding behind a lawyer and staying with a low profile in this circumstance. Now that the cat is out of the bag and everybody knows that she lied. Now it makes more sense as to why she remained silent in that sense. Jack wasn't potty trained. Do you know that to be true? That's first I heard about that. Maybe they're going through it. 4 and 2. 6 and 4. 6 and 4, wasn't it? Excuse me. In 15 months. Karen Jones is claiming that Daniel is used to dominating women. Do you mean dominating women, or he likes women who are dominating? He thinks it's normal? That's probably, I would say that Janie's fairly domineering around that household. She'll be telling you when to take the garbage out still to this day. Okay, Daniel likes being dominated. What are you saying? Daniel states he was in a pull-up. Lola, thank you very much. That would be an indicator.
What's real and what ain't. So, but there's images that appear that this kid looks a little bruised up. There's accounts or rumors circulating. 2 plus 2 is very rare in Nova Scotia. Would be something else. Oh, no. No. I bet you it's all over Nova Scotia. You just don't run in the right circles to know. Okay? Drugs are everywhere. All drugs are everywhere. If you live on this continent, these drugs are available to you. Okay, you just got to know where to look and know the people, and it's there. Okay, so to be like, well, Nova Scotia don't have that. Oh, hell yeah, it does. Okay, you can look at some of the people from Nova Scotia and tell they got it. Okay, they got it. It's like 28 days later. Okay, I know drug addicts when I see drug addicts. I just know, right? I've been around enough of them in my life. I can smell you. Okay, I can just tell. And, kids are the first ones neglected, and people worry more about getting high than they do their own children. And it's a shame, but listen, how many drug addicts have you known to lose their kids? How many drunks have you known?
Let's put a number to it. Lean on me. Something could have happened the night before, then there's plenty of time to even drive a four-wheeler to a nearby business dumpster. Right, that's what I was mentioning a little bit earlier, Lean on me. Think about, give it, let's say 8 hours. There's 8 hours of missing time. I got a feeling. And in that 8 hours, the timeline that they presented is false. In that 8 hours on his four-wheeler, Daniel had plenty of time to go to even package something up and ask for somebody to come pick it up and put it in a dumpster. He's got even the sawmill probably had a dumpster. Darren Geddes' business, he's got an excavating business, probably utilizes a dumpster if he's a bit busy in that sense. Every job site, every construction site around will have a communal dumpster that's going to be left unlocked and able to dispose of a small package that nobody's probably going to even notice. You would have thought that would have been the easiest solution to all of this. If he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off, just tripping, peeking because of the level of adrenaline from the situation at hand. Then he's really talking about it. He's really talking about it after the fact, like, dude probably went through 3 creeks up to his waist. I don't doubt it. Running around trying to figure out how to dispose of something that he had no plans of, but he's doing it because of his love for Malaya. So perhaps there's some sort of future temporary insanity plea coming down the line because maybe the judge was in love too once. It'd be one hell of an insanity plea. He was blinded by love. He was forced. He was pussy whipped into doing things. She had such a hold over him. She had 2 different vaginas. And that was the thing with Malaya. She's got 2 vaginas. These folks are twisted in ways we could not imagine, Karen Jones. You keep saying that. Keep giving me some examples. I wonder what that is, though, to you. Daniel is submissive. Daniel gets these fucking kids fed. Get those kids to bed. Make the kids shut up. You said you would handle the discipline with the kids. Now do it. Oh my gosh. I hope that's not how life was around there. Maybe what you're saying is that Daniel was in training. Daniel was in child training. You think that he would be used to it. He has 2 others. He has 2 other kids. Good to see you, Nasty. Karen, you're so wrong. Luminous says you're wrong. Karen could probably get carried away. How are we to know what his bedroom habits are in that circumstance, though? I would say it's pretty empty in that bed right now. Lean on Me says there's a car maintenance garage you get weird vibes from. Is that on Garlock Road? It's hard to look on Google Earth because it's not up to date as to where the construction sites are going on necessarily.
To lose their kids. Lots. Okay, because these things start to take over. Right? They start to take over and then they start to control you. And nobody starts off wanting to be an addict. Okay? They're just like, they dabble in it, they're partying, they're having a good time. And next thing you know, they in a methadone clinic. I mean, it's just how it works. I mean, I've seen drugs take really good people, destroy them, and somebody that would have done anything for you, it's the same person now robbing you.
Actually, that's interesting that you bring that up, Karen Jones. That's what he told her when she cried to him about not being able to control her kids. He said, "Don't worry, darling, I will help you." Well, maybe she was struggling with the children because of their developmental delays in that sense. And she didn't know exactly what to do. So Daniel had all kinds of ideas in that sense, and she's not wise enough to recognize a charlatan when you see one in that sense. Come on now. Karen says Daniel is the wimpiest of the wimps. So nasty of you. Look at all that he's done for these children, looking for these kids. You should learn to be nicer to him, Karen. Paula W., this is a real mystery. It's so bizarre that we still know nothing. Yes, filling the potholes in at night. Very strange. What WTF is going on? Where's the children, Daniel? And Janie? Why the need to cover up and all stick to this story? Is their bond, their family bond this tight that they're just sticking together? Or do they all have some sort of responsibility towards Jack and Lily, all being adults and living on that property, and all of a sudden, all this time after the fact, they don't even have anything nice to say about the kids? Do you know, people were talking about how it looked a lot like Orrin and Orson Welles. There's another two that disappeared. And look what happened in that circumstance. There was a time that I wouldn't have believed that they came to their end the way that they did, because the story was just too fantastic when I heard it. I would have never in a million years have thought that up. God rest their souls, by the way. I'll never forget that situation. What a nightmare of a scenario to be two brothers taken into state custody into a danger zone where it's supposed to be a safe zone, only to end up getting brutally murdered by another what's supposed to be brother under the guise of the abusive foster parents, utilizing the entire scenario to line their own pockets. Look at what Trezell West and his nasty wife did in front of the cameras. They didn't have any problem getting up there in front of the cameras and telling everybody, including all of their family, yelling at them exactly something completely false. And don't expect to be able to spot that every time when people do it. Like, there's nothing wrong as a human being giving somebody the benefit of the doubt in an emergency situation and not to get too carried away. But the situation with Orrin and Orson West, you can take away as a learning experience, and really how these situations play out, and how people get all caught up in their feels, and what makes them side up and to whom and the reasons why. It's all superficial. Layla 25, Daniel is salty. He started singing like a canary when he realized she wasn't coming back. You guys have a good eye for that. You're kind of right in that sense. You know, at some point maybe we'll be thanking Daniel for doing the right thing, when we can someday point back and say, you know what, you were telling, more of the truth there, but there's always going to be a question about how much you know and when. And the fact that you came out and said that the story the particular way, I kind of wanted to believe Daniel. I have a hard time not believing him. My body wants to believe him in this circumstance, but why would I believe a liar? I have to stop myself in that. It hurts my feelings. I want to believe Daniel came to an understanding about, a last-minute decision, an amendment to the agreement with his live-in partner, his girl, and she doesn't ever want to see him again, and, let things just fall where they may. Well, that's going to be a problem. And she changed her status to single, so she's advertising now. Hey, everybody, I'm single on Facebook. Anybody want to get together? She's going for another kick at the bucket. Oh, she's advertising. She needs a little bit of attention from all the thirsty men out there. Excuse me, where are all the thirsty men? Oh dear. Maybe Daniel's mom knew he didn't want Lily and Jack. Do you think it's going to be like a Brittany Gosney scenario? That's another scenario for those of you out there who haven't heard of that case. Brittany Gosney, she's a redheaded gal with this trashy looking husband that she wanted to do anything for, and they ended up walking into the sheriff's department and reporting their own kids missing. I think it was in Indiana or Illinois, one of the two down there. But it is so crazy. It's the dumbest effing thing that I've ever seen. They went in there and reported their kids missing, and the police officers at the same time just they caught them out lying in their own stories in that circumstance with very little effort. And it all fell apart, but the horror of the actual story is just so sad. And it came from, the way that they disciplined their particular children. So a lot of people are classifying this scenario in that. And we know we're never going to get the actual truth at the end of the day, but just enough to press charges is good enough. David says Malaya will end up marrying her lawyer's brother like Carla Homolka or Casey Anthony. Karen Jones, she does like men with mommy issues. She wants to fix them. Oh, stay away from those kind. Those are bad. What sort of woman are you, Karen? Daniel is Carla, Malaya's Paul Bernardo. Oh, come on now. That's another level of evil. I think this scenario is evil, not out of the fact that they woke up and tried to be evil, as opposed to Paul and Carla. They were on that. That's just a malicious, devilish evil. But again, we don't know what's happened here. How do we know they didn't sacrifice them to the fucking Dark Lord? Paula W. is asking Karen if he's a man who's just trying to talk dirty. That's my gut feeling. I don't know.
That is horrible. That and sometimes these things, my allergies are bothering me, can be quick. It don't even take that long, right? To see people go completely downhill on drugs, right? And usually they lose everything they got. That's a good time. I keep saying every time you see somebody that's doing rough that they're on drugs, but that's probably the first indication there may be possibility that there may be some problems when people are really struggling and you're like, dude, what do you do with your money? Right? Why ain't you out trying to better yourself? Because you lose that motivation to be a better person or to do really well, because all you care about is,
but there's no plan like there is in the States, like,
right? How are we going to do this and how are we going to do that? And I believe that them kids became a burden. They became too much for them to handle, especially seeing that Jack and Lily may have been on the spectrum. We don't know. That's completely rumored, right? Completely rumored that these kids may have been autistic, but that's coming from Malaya and Daniel. Now, my thing about this, if it was daytime and Daniel said it's daytime and the sky's blue, I wouldn't believe him. Okay. And Malaya came out right now and said, it's 4:29 p.m. where I'm at. And she said, Dolly, it's 4:29 p.m. where you're at. I wouldn't believe it. Okay. I'd check the time because I don't believe nothing either one of these people are saying, or anybody that's connected to them or friends with them. Okay. Because your friends are going to lie for you. Your family's going to take up for you. Right. I think everybody has this false hope of these kids are on a reservation and all this, but I don't really think so. Okay. I don't really think so. I think that something tragic happened and they had a choice and they got rid of the kids, and everybody at that house knows. You notice Jamie got a gun. She ain't talking, right? Because she knows, right? she don't want to get out there and be lying because then she's trapped up in it, right? So if she starts lying, oh, if them kids were outside playing, they would have been playing right directly in front of Daniel's mother's house, right? The Breaking Bad meth lab, right there. Okay, they'd have been right there, and she would have heard these kids. She has dogs. Dog would have been barking his ass off. Okay, barking his ass off. But no, we got none of this, right? Nobody is magically gone. And you notice they never talk about what happened the day before. We do know they went somewhere near the mall in the city. They were caught on camera. Daniel, Malaya, Meadow, Jack, and Lilly. Okay. But we don't know much about them getting.
Now that Dolly brings that point up, we don't really know. How do we know that they just didn't ship the kids off when they were out in the last scene and that was the reason for being out? How do we know that they even made it back home? We didn't really have a clear, full account of anything. No meals, no playtime, no activities to speak of, no word. So he's just taking the fact and using that to demonstrate to a bunch of what he perceives as naysayers as proof that he's somehow innocent of all suspicion because we all shared the same interpretation as his deviated perception. Like when Daniel was asked why it is that he thinks he's no longer a suspect, and his reply was the measurement in time between the intervals when the detectives called him. I think at that point the RCMP had just enough information to realize that this was a situation other than how it was portrayed to them over the phone, perhaps. Who are you talking about joking, Jamie? Mel White, some dysfunctional, financially poor mums rely on boyfriends to bring food into the house. Hope shattered time and time again until a woman thinks there is no hope. Apparently, Daniel's two kids were not impressed on their first visit to the trailer, and they saw two scruffy, dirty, malnourished kids calling their father, who left them, Daddy? Not impressed. Apparently, Daniel's two kids were not impressed. His other two kids. Apparently, his other two kids weren't impressed when they went to visit trailer. How do you know that, girl? Dirty, malnourished kids calling their father, who left them, Daddy. That would be Daddy. So they weren't impressed with the new family. But they would have presumably been out to that trailer before, visiting Janie. Ronnie says, yep, I've been asking this too. Plus, I can't find an RCMP report to say that they were witnessed on camera, just observed by Daniel's friend in the parking lot. And verified, corroborated. Yeah, it's okay, Jim. You don't have to get too upset at Karen. Don't try to figure it out too much. We've all been there. We've all been there. Just accept it.
Home. Okay. We don't know what time the kids went to bed. They say 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, something like that. Later, they said that. But in the beginning, when they told the story, they never mentioned feeding the kids dinner, giving the kids a bath, giving Lilly medicine or checking on Lilly because apparently Lilly was sick. Okay. Brushing the kids' teeth, putting them to bed, tucking them in, telling them a bedtime story. All these things as a parent, you do. But apparently they didn't, or they just decided, hey, we're not going to mention this. Okay. We just, yeah, no big deal. We woke up and they were gone. Just vanished. Poof. Thin air. You got their dirty house, dirty outside the house, them sleeping all day, them allegedly being drugs, right? And now we remember in the beginning, we heard the rumors about the party. It makes a little more sense now. It sounds like it was a little bit of a party house if they were in there in the bathroom doing some bam bam, okay? Even though, you know, people were trying to reel that back a little bit because it's starting to make Malaya look bad. Her stepsister didn't do her any good, right? Oh, she needs to live her life. She needs to move on.
Stepsister,
How the
I think it's
hell
a sister-in-law.
do you move on?
Same thing, isn't
when
it?
you have 2 kids missing? Okay, I've seen people Joe Dirt 1 kid. Okay, you got an ugly son, Joe Dirt him, right? I've seen it. But to Joe Dirt your son and your daughter, like that's a double Joe Dirt. Okay, that usually just don't happen. That's like having a side mullet. Okay, you usually don't see that. You usually don't see a side mullet. Usually it's business in the front, party in the back. Okay, that's like having short hair on this side, long hair on this side. It's like a side mullet. You just don't see it. Happens, right? You might catch one at a punk rock show, right?
You think Karen Jones is Daniel? Don't let that get into your head too much. I wonder too. I'm not trying to, but don't let it make you crazy. I'm trying to say. Paula W is saying Karen's a guy. Maybe. How do you know that how do you know that you're just curious, or how do you know that she's a guy, or you just feel that Karen Jones is a male? Do you feel deceived? AB, is Karen a woman or is Karen Daniel? I don't know who Karen is. I can't vouch for Karen. I can't vouch. But every time that somebody notices Karen own the narrative and tell them some sort of piece of information, it makes people feel that somehow she's a lot closer to the situation than we all are in that circumstance. Ronnie's saying Karen's definitely a dude. Do you think so? I don't want to put that on them. It's up to your imagination. Does it bother you? How dare you pretend to be a woman?
But usually you don't see a side mullet. Just like you usually don't see 2 kids vanish without a trace, right? In the middle of nowhere.
Do you know what? From what I gather, what I can read through the messages, she certainly doesn't express herself as a male through messaging, in that sense. It would have fooled me in that sense. Just reading some of her messages, I would think that she's a female. But maybe I'm easily fooled.
You got better odds to seeing Bigfoot, okay? Being bit by a shark on the beach. True. These kids didn't vanish. They're not in the woods. The RCMP, oh my God. For the next person that says the RCMP, MP, or whatever, the Mounties, damn Rocky and Bullwinkle. That is a joke. Okay, they have done the shittiest job next to...
I'm not suspect that she's Daniel at all. I never had the inkling that she was Daniel or pretending to be involved in the case. You know, how do you know it's not Daniel's ex-wife? That was what I brought up the other night. And then I stopped. I'm like, you know what? It's not fair because your imagination can get taken away from you. I get it. You don't have to convince me, but the person's entitled to their anonymity in that sense. It's not like Karen is here trying to feed us a false narrative. And she doesn't speak very well of Darren or his family. It's hard to believe that he is Darren. That's a little bit a bit too close. I would say that it's probably a female too, if I had to guess. But how do I know? Hey, You asked me what I thought.
TBI, okay? I rank the
People are
RCMP
going to demand that you come
right
out
now
and start
with
speaking.
TBI, okay? TBI, RCMP, both the same. Not worth a damn, okay? Not worth a damn. Dropped the ball, kicked it over the fence, and went home. What the hell? Like, you don't need a genius to solve this one, okay? Now, I don't know what exactly transpired, but I know who knows.
Oh, yeah. See, I told you that's what's going on. Paul is saying, and you better read way back in the chat to see what a very personal, weird personal comment Karen made about Malaya. Yeah, she says that all the fucking time. That's what makes her exciting in here. You're just discovering it. We all already know. But don't let your imagination get the best of you, because it just could be somebody who's quite familiar with the situation firsthand in that sense. Were you trying to protect Malay all of a sudden?
I'm smart enough to know that. Okay, I've been around true crime long enough to know that if you rile those people up that was at that dumpy ass trailer, you would find the culprit who knows what happened to Jack and Lilly, or what they did with Jack and Lilly. And I'll tell you this, if we find them two sweaters,
Yeah, David Karen's a bot.
we'll
a really
find
good
Jack
bot.
and Lilly. Okay, maybe looking for Jack and Lilly and start looking for the two sweaters. Okay, because we find them sweaters, we're going to find these children. And it's going to be heartbreaking. It's going to be heartbreaking, guys, for all you people. Like, I like the wishful think too. You know what I'm saying? I like still to believe that Santa Claus is real. You know, that, you know, he's going to bring me something. Never does, right? But I like to believe he's real. Just like I like to believe these kids are on a reservation. But reality at some point has to sink in to even all you hopeful people, right? I don't want to rain on your parade because I like parades, okay? St. Patty's Day, Macy's parade. I like parades. I don't want to be a big rain cloud on your parade, okay? But I got to. I got to, because reality tells me better. True crime, the years that I've been in true crime, lets me know that we live in a terrible, terrible place where people do horrible things to their kids, statistically, okay? Just like y'all only got 522 likes, there's 1,100 people in the room. That's 600, okay? I took math in school, right? Now, if you have a lot of ones in the chat room, okay, there's still there.
These babies have been gone for too long, sadly.
Yeah, friends. We're going to shut it down on this Thursday. We're going to shut it down. We'll be back a little bit later tonight and in the morning, by the way. You might not see them pop up, but we'll be here. You can set your clock to it. We appreciate you stopping by and digesting some of this stream today. Let me know down in the comments where your mind is at with this case right now. We'll see you back in a little bit, friends. Peace.